Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with yet another brew review, and it is that time of year again. Today we are starting another American Beer Week, again with the gifts from our friends, our viewers, our American Beer Brothers, John and Robert. And I thought I'd start off lightly. I've already showed you guys in the unboxing what they brought us. I didn't take the lightest one, but I took one of the lighter ones. In this case, the Trapp Brewing Cellar series Weissbier. Now, a small word about the brewery. I'm not gonna do the entire history thing here because it does have quite a history. This beer or this brewery is established in 2010 in Stowe in Vermont. And Von Trapp, that name might ring a bell. If it does, you are exactly, completely right. This is the family that inspired The Sound of Music, so Maria and Captain Von Trapp basically started a American tour as a singing family in the 40s, and they never went back to Europe. They actually set up camp at Stowe at Vermont, started a farm. They farmed their whole life through. One of their oldest sons decided to travel around, and in 2010 came back from Europe with a knack for European beer. I think he even described it as beers that you can have with lunch but don't need to take a nap after, which is very well worded, I must say. And I checked these guys' portfolio. They have a core range of, I think, 5 beers right now, and some momentary beers, but they do have all the typical European or German, mainly German styles. Of course, they were an Austrian family, but that is very closely related when it comes to beer. Now, they have some Kölsch, they have Vienna Lager, they have Dunkel, and so on and so on. So they actually really specialize, and this is one of the rather special ones from them. So again, John, Robert, thank you very much. And I do know that this is more John's doing. But this is a Cellar series beer. Now, we have seen Cellar series with Pojala, for example. And in this case, this is a classic German style or Austrian style Weissbier. What is a Weissbier? A Weissbier is a wheat beer. Now, they have not a lot of info on the can, although I do really love this label. I think this could have been made for me, actually. It is very simple, it is very serene, it reminds me of the main beer company labels. But in this case, cream white. I don't like white, I love cream white. And then the dark green typography with a golden ram's head logo, which actually is pretty much like my business cards. Those are dark green with golden logos as well, although it's my head and not the ram's head. Apart from that, they say the Cellar series is a small batch program dedicated to exploring traditional and experimental ingredients, techniques and styles in brewing and fermentation from our hard-working brewery team, select friends and supporters. Prost! One thing that does stand out here is that this is brewed with Vermont mountain spring water. Now, I often say that about 95% of all brewers in the world brews with tap water, and I won't be far off, might be even a bit more. But there are exceptions like Von Trapp that use that spring water, that mountain spring water, just like Brasserie du Mont Blanc, which we talked about a few weeks ago with La Bleu. I'll put a link up here to everything I'm telling you guys about. But also, for example, Hertog Jan in Arsen in Holland, or the Netherlands I should say, because they are located on top of a underground river, and you would be crazy not to use that water. But enough about water. Actually, when I give tours in Antwerp, I often say there's nothing exciting about water. Actually, water is pretty exciting. It's just not exciting to talk about. Okay, let's take a glass here and have a try. Quite a bit of pressure on here. Ooh. Now, this is a perfect example of a Weissbier to debunk a myth. Because in Dutch, in Flemish, we call this a Weissbier, which is a white beer. And actually that is, like many things, a historic translation error. Because a lot of wheat beers are rather white in color, rather creamy. And Weiss, white or wheat, there have been some translation errors. Of course, Weizen is wheat, Hefeweizen is yeast wheat, for example. So yeah, we still call it Weissbier or tarwebier because wheat is tarwe in Dutch. But this is one of those wheat beers that proves that doesn't have to be white. It does have to be made with wheat. And this is a beautiful golden, yeah, nothing on top, just a beautiful golden beer. But it is a wheat beer nonetheless. Beautiful white foam, which is also very typical for Weissbier. And I want to check if they have more ingredients on here, but I don't think so. Yeah, the finest traditional ingredients and pure spring water. They don't talk about which grains they use. I think probably a combination of wheat and barley. But we'll have to try and taste that out. Also, traditional. We'll see when we taste this. Lovely scent. Great aroma palette. And I do think that the grain bill is wider than just wheat. And Weissbier has this typical grainy, yeasty, and at the same time malty, sweet scent. So it's actually for a basically a simple beer. I don't want to offend people here, but for a simple style beer, it does have a very complex aroma, a very complex bouquet, and this is no exception. This is spot on. A classic Belgian wheat beer, for example, uses a pretty bunch of coriander and orange peel. Now, I might say a crazy thing here because I don't really smell the coriander in here. I do smell a bit of orange peel. But the funny thing is that I actually think that it's the other way around, that they did use coriander and did not use orange peel. But hey, that is what I'm picking up. So please correct me if I'm wrong. Nonetheless, it does smell terrific. Okay, I'm getting a bit thirsty here, so let's have a taste. Cheers. Okay. Let's start with the mouthfeel. First off, a bit thinner than I expected. Quite heavily carbonated. You guys know I like that, so no problem there. But it is a bit thinner than I expected, and even though the malty, wheaty scent is very strong, flavor-wise, I am missing that creaminess, that thick protein texture that we are used to. So maybe a bit less wheat, a bit more barley, I don't know. Apart from that, beautiful typical Weissbier flavor. First off, very malty, but also very wort-like. I do get a bunch of leftover sugars from that fermentation process, which is pretty nice. Now this is a 5% ABV. I wouldn't be surprised if the base value has like a 16 or a 17 Plato wort, because there is quite a bit of leftover sugar here. Now I must say that I like that wort flavor, but that is a very, very personal thing. Also, a lot of foam has dissipated already, and that might have to do with the grain bill as well. It is also slightly hoppy, not overwhelming, which is perfect for a Weissbier. And I do get that slight acidity on the weak tissue, on the glands in the back of the throat while swallowing, which is very, very typical for wheat beers or wheat in general. So despite that one or two remarks that I have, very, very decent beer. Also, the effervescence is uncanny. I have the idea that it is quite carbonated, so I think this might be like a 6 gram per liter instead of a 5, for example. However, that carbon dioxide does boost the flavor as well. So very nice, and the idea is, I get the idea that it has very, very small bubbles, more like a champagne yeast produces, for example. Well, let's see if we have some yeast residue in there. No, still quite clear. Okay. I thought we might get more haziness, and we did get a little bit, but not that much. What did this do for our mouthfeel? Now it's pretty much the same. Very consistent. Now, this does remind me of Hoegaarden back when it was good. And I know that I'm making kind of a statement here. Let's not go into detail about that. But let's say the recipe has changed, the flavor profile has changed. And this reminds me of these old times, my younger years, when I used to love Hoegaarden, for example. But yeah. This is very nice. The after flavor is also refreshing. It's like a very slightly acidic sweetness, but very malty again. I do get a bit of that coriander in there as well. Quite yeasty, bready actually, very Belgian / German style, so nicely done. But it is also quite thin, and the after flavor is a bit more hoppy than the initial flavor is. So very nice start. The only question left is how should I score this? Definitely an A++ on the label. Nice looking beer. That aroma, awesome. Flavor wise, it's really good. It is decent quality, all great. maybe not the best one I've had, but nonetheless very nice. So I am going for that typical easy 3.5. As usual, yeah, it really deserves a 3.5, and I like a beer with a story and a history, so that really does it for me as well. However, I don't score beers higher on the basis of their story or their can, but that is a nice extra for me. But no, 3.5 it is, and very, very nice. Thank you very much again, John and Robert. If you guys like this video, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this beer, if you have tried it before. I know a lot of my European friends won't. If you have anything to say, any questions, remarks, comment section is the place to go. If you want to see more, hit the bell icon after you subscribe so you'll get notified whenever I upload something. And if you want to support this channel, yeah, just leave a like, share a video, or visit that Patreon page and buy me a beer. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers!